Welcome everyone to the Weird Name Pod. Today we got a good one. It's a pretty goody goody, and I don't know what that was.
A goody goody. Everybody knows what a goody goody is.
Yes, it's a goody.
A goody goody.
I never say that, so that was kind of weird. But yes. Anyway, today I have with me
Melanie, Ahern.
That's right. Yes, indeed. And if you don't know her channel, would you like to describe that, if you can?
Oh boy, I wasn't expecting this. My YouTube channel is currently dead, but I used to post short films, weird short films on there, so if that's something you're into.
Some people are.
A few.
Indeed. But anyway, surprisingly, it won't be an interview today. And I don't think she wants that anyway, so that's perfectly fine. If you want an interview, you can go look up the InterTube episode.
Oh, don't. That one. I wasn't good on that. I was, like, so nervous.
It was good.
No, it wasn't. Anyways.
Otherwise, just look up. Oh, I was actually about to say, look up The Libertarian.
Oh, gosh.
But also,
don't direct
that's not even
to
available. Because I tried clicking on an episode recently.
Okay, so Josh was kind enough to host it for us. Like, we didn't pay for any sort of lip-sync or feed burn or anything, and he took it down eventually. He was like, hey guys, the podcast is dead. Do you want me to keep this up? And we're like, no. So.
For shame.
Yeah. I mean, we still have the original files, like he sent them to us, but Libertarian is no longer a public entity. It's in a vault somewhere, so.
Well, there you go. Maybe one day, maybe it'll come back. Probably not, though.
I don't know.
Oh, well.
You never know. The world's crazy.
That's very true. Very true.
So what are we talking about?
Today we are talking about shaved Dawson.
My favorite Dawson. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but for real. If you haven't seen Shane Dawson's Conspiracy Theories, his two-part thing, what are you doing?
Stop listening to this. Don't waste your time on this. Go and watch it. And then maybe come back.
Maybe come back.
Maybe.
You don't have to. If you're in the mood for awkward conversation, you can come back to this. But we're basically just going to kind of, I guess, see where it goes. I'm not sure if there's going to be, like, disagreement or whatever, but we're kind of just going to go over them. Yeah, actually, that would make for, that'd be making for the best entertainment. But we're going to kind of be going over some of the ones that were brought up and see what we each think of them. Because I know I've got some thoughts.
So, well, first of all, can I ask you your general opinion on the Great Shane?
The Great Shane? Yes. Honestly, like, what was it? A couple years ago, I kind of watched him on and off when he was just, like, burning plastic on camera or something. I'm not sure what he was doing. He was just doing, like, these weird videos, but for some reason, I just loved them so much. And then I kind of went away from his channel for a while, didn't really keep up. And then the whole Bobby collab happened. Bobby collab did. That happened. And, you know, it was kind of like, oh, YouTuber I watched. Now he's on there. Then I started watching Shane again. And I'm like, wow, Shane puts out really good content. Especially around that time when he started doing all the documentary stuff.
So you're a born-again Shane fan.
Born-again Shane fan, yes.
Okay,
although I never watched him in the OG days because I was a child.
Too edgy for you.
Yes, too edgy.
Yeah.
Way too edgy. Even though, oddly enough, he's like way more appropriate now, if you want to say that.
Yeah. I mean, I've...
Like, not totally, but still definitely cleaner to an extent.
Yeah. Like, if I'm watching him with a parent in the room, I'm not totally afraid.
Yeah.
And, like, I've
shown
like
some
of his
old
stuff to my little brother.
You definitely would be concerned.
Yeah. That's funny. I like, I think I watched, like, a couple of his videos, like, way back in the day, like, a decade ago or whatever, but I was never super into him. And only recently...
Was this during, like, a rebellious phase?
No. I never rebelled, Gabe. I was always a good kid.
Sure.
But, so at VidCon, everybody was talking about TanaCon and how, like, it was, like, a dumpster fire, and so it was like,
I didn't even know what that was until, like,
really?
Afterward. There was, like, some sort of comedy night or something on the last day, and someone brought it up, like, in a joke, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And then, like, a couple days after I got back home, I looked it up. It was like, oh, okay.
Well, I had seen like something about it trending on Twitter before VidCon, before we went to VidCon, and then so I watched Tana's video, and so then I went into VidCon knowing that it was happening, and so once it went to hell in a handbasket, I wanted to know what happened. So that was like the first thing of Shane's that I watched, you know, ever since like years ago, and then I was hooked immediately, and big fan now.
Very, very informative.
Yeah, like he's so good.
For sure. It's great.
I was surprised by just like the production value and like how he's just like a kind heart and soul, and he's just like so sweet and pure and like genuine. I'm like, okay.
Honestly, he's too nice for this world.
He is.
Like he just cares so much, and it like comes across very much in his content.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Yeah, so I was impressed because I thought I was just going to be watching TanaCon series just to get information, and then I turned into a Shane stan, and so I was like, whoops, here I am, I guess.
Ain't that just the way?
Ain't that just the way? Alrighty, so his new conspiracy series. Have you ever watched any of his older, like the shorter conspiracy videos?
Not really. Like, I don't remember what I was going to say. No, I just never was really interested in them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I did actually watch one of them, kind of the one I think that was actually right before the new series, which was actually still kind of months ago. And that one wasn't even that short. It was still like close to an hour, but I really enjoyed that. And so when this came along, I was like pumped for it. So
I think I tried watching one of them a while ago, and I was kind of put off by like the over dramatic editing and like his voice that he does when he's doing his conspiracy, but he's like, so I wasn't like a big fan, but these are really good, these new ones. And even okay, so like I love Shane, but to be fair, like some of the criticism that he gets for like his editing style, like it is very over the top and dramatic and a bit like hokey.
It's just what he's into.
Yeah, but it works, and it doesn't take away from like the quality content itself. So
if there's anything, for sure, and if there's anything that kind of takes away from it, maybe I can bring this up later. But at least in this series, maybe specifically the second part, it kept like cutting back and forth between them, and it was always like I wanted to see more of that. And then
it was super quick on the second video. Yeah.
But it's still something you get used to. But regardless, it was just kind of all over the place in that regard.
Okay, so the first video, when did this come out? Like December?
This came out like the first one was like late January. The second one was early February, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
This one had, let me count. I wrote, people can't see, but I wrote down notes. Shane notes.
Yes.
I skimmed the video.
Actual notes, not on the phone,
notes,
on paper.
On paper. It's wild. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there were 6 conspiracies in that first video. The first one being my favorite, the iPhone conspiracy.
Oof.
Which, it's, okay, also, I just want to say, most of these I wouldn't necessarily call like conspiracies. Like I feel like that's an intense
like,
word.
It kind of, for sure. Like some of them, I feel like actually in the original, criticizing the conspiracies video that led me back to Shane's channel, it was brought up that some of the conspiracies are kind of just like, oh well, that's just kind of a fact. Hey, that's how the iPhone works in general. Yeah, which I agree with. And then some of that got brought into this, although it's less so, I would say, but it's still there. Mm-hmm. But it does a good job at making it entertaining. Yeah,
definitely. And it's just semantics, I guess. Like he clearly states like this is just for like fun theories, you know. It's not like to be meant to be taken too seriously.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Exactly. So the iPhone, there were like 3 different parts to it, right?
3, I think,
3 or 4?
2, 3, something like that.
Because there was a whole Zepeto thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so the whole deal with the iPhones is essentially the theory is that they are always listening to us and always recording us, and not just always listening, but probably storing that information.
Yes.
Which is not super hard to believe, you know. It's not crazy out there.
I would say so.
Yeah. What was the Zepeto thing? I forget.
I honestly don't remember.
Okay, well,
that part.
the most interesting part of that was like the live photos thing. Is that if you're not aware, if you have an iPhone and you're taking a live photo, it supposedly records 3 seconds before and after you click the shutter, and it takes a 3-second video. Apparently, like that's what it comes out as.
And their excuse was that you press the button and it happens. But how is it recording before you press the button?
Before you press the button. So that has to mean that when your camera's open, it's always recording.
Yeah.
And Apple came out and they're like, yeah, like when your camera's open, we're always storing data, but then it gets deleted, so. So they're being upfront about it, but why wouldn't they store the data? Like, do you really trust like this huge company not to? I don't. But at the same time, like I willingly use an iPhone, so it's not like a huge deal to me, obviously.
Yeah, it's not something that scares me because it's like, what would this even be like used for? Because I haven't seen any of this.
Blackmail, Gabe, blackmail.
Well, okay, yes, but also, see, I've got nothing to hide, so.
You've got nothing to hide. The rest of us, I don't have anything. I do the most boring stuff.
Do you have something to admit to?
It's just like, all they see is just like my potato face all the time. Just like that gross angle. And then I'm like shopping online. That's all I do. On Pinterest and stuff. So
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but so like I get the backlash and like why people are upset about it. But does anybody read that like long terms and agreement page? Maybe it's in there. You know.
That was a good point. Like that how many pages was that again?
Yeah. Like, nobody's forcing you to use the iPhone. Like, we willingly bring it into our lives because it's convenient and because it, so it's like, well, nobody's forcing you to use it.
And because it's better than Android. Twitter for Android.
Let's not get into that, Gabe.
Anyway.
That was my favorite part of the video when Garrett was like, I'd rather go to hell than get an Android.
Garrett's the best.
Oh
just the whole crew is just amazing.
I think that's part of why the whole iPhone portion of the video was my favorite. It was because it was just like the 4 of them, or 5, just like chilling and hanging out essentially, and like talking about the conspiracy. But I enjoy that more than like Shane talking to a camera by himself.
Yeah.
It's more entertaining.
Also, another thing about the iPhone was first it was like a conspiracy that it was like an app, like a kid's app, and you
It's a pedo.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, now I remember. Okay.
You're right.
And the thing about that was they thought that with the app, when you have it open, it's like recording like everything going on or whatever. But then it showed that apparently that sound you hear is also like on outside of the app. So I'm not sure. Like they listened and there was like they heard a sound. But like I tried this later. Also like don't watch this at like in past the early AM. I don't know, which is what I did. So I tried it in the morning, and I listened. And maybe conspiracy. Maybe they turned it off just because they know I was going to do it.
Conspiracy.
But I didn't really hear anything new, so I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, and in the video, Shane says something like, "And like when you hear the static, that means like your phone's tapped." And I was like, okay, that's a bit of a stretch. Like that's just common knowledge that when you hear static on your phone, that means your phone is tapped. Okay. But,
sure.
I mean, any app that you download on your phone, I'm sure they're
like there's always that that little disclaimer when you first open it for the first time. It's like, hey, allow it to use your microphone and all that stuff.
Yeah. And they don't say what they're doing with it, so like technically.
Yeah, unless it's something obvious like Skype or something like that.
So,
but yeah,
that was the most entertaining theory to me. But then it was also maybe because it was also like the one that I could not relate to the most, but it, like I don't know, like the rest of them like have nothing to do with my life. But
yeah, for sure.
You want to move on?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. The next one was the whole deepfake videos. Which do you want to explain it?
Getting a R-rated up in here.
Doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to. I'll explain the the PG-13 version, if you will. So basically, there's this thing called deepfakes where you can kind of make a digital mask of someone's face and then put it on top of your own and kind of do whatever you want.
So, like, an example that they had was there was an SNL skit where somebody was playing Hillary Clinton, and, like, she looked like her with the hair and everything. And so they imposed a video of Hillary Clinton's face over the video, and so it looked like Hillary Clinton was sitting there saying this stupid stuff. And obviously, you can tell that it's fake, but, like, it looks pretty good.
Like, if you're not looking for it and you don't know ahead of time, perhaps.
And also, like, this technology is super new. Like, who knows what it's going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it can only get better from here.
And so, like, the fear is that people can just create fake footage of and impose your face on anybody doing anything, and then a world of possibilities, especially when they're talking about, like, political stuff. Like, we could put make a video of, like, Donald Trump saying something about North Korea, and, you know, like, stuff that could
get... And that's the end of the world.
Yeah. Stuff that could get dangerous. And so...
Yeah.
I forget, like, what the technology was that they used. Was it a specific program, or was it... Because I know for the voice... In the second video, for, like, the voice...
yeah, in the second part,
that was a
in the second video,
software that he downloaded. Yeah.
Although, I'm not as sure about that because, like, at times, I guess that software made the voices sound pretty good, but also it didn't sound good enough. Like, they tested it with like actual phone calls.
Yeah.
And at times it was good, but also at other times, if you want like something very specific said, it doesn't really work as well.
Do you want to talk about that? Because I feel like those two go hand in hand.
Yeah,
even though it was in the second
do.
video, there was I wrote it down. So essentially, somebody created a software that it's like AI that can like clone your voice, and so you input your saying like a bunch of different sentences, and it can like detect all the inflection and the tone and the way you say things, and then make you say anything after that. Then it sounds like you. And so like those two things combined is a little scary. Like you can be saying anything and in a video of you doing anything, and but you're right. The voices did not sound super
good.
Great. But at the same time, it's like in 10 years, it'll probably sound perfect, you know?
Yeah, who knows? But as for right now, it's a little iffy. At least I'm not sure if there was like another actual specific website that does it really well, but the one they used had you have to say like a ton of stuff so it can really study your voice. So I'm not sure about that.
And also, like with that, you have to be saying all those sentences. Like, you have to be willingly doing it. With the video, they could just take a video, or they could take a picture of your face, right? And just plaster it on. But for the audio stuff, they have to... You
have to get the person you want the voice from to actually say everything.
Yeah. So you can't, like, do it for somebody else without them knowing and clone their voice.
Yeah, and then, like, like, for example, the actual political figures in the, with the faces and stuff, those were all, like, impersonations.
Yeah. So it is, I don't know, technology is cool. It is a little scary, I guess, thinking about, like, what the possibilities and, like, the consequences of this stuff being, like, free to the public. Or even, not even just to the public, to anybody to have that in their hands is like a lot of power, especially if it gets really good and refined. And then... So it is like legitimately kind of scary. Like, like again, as I've said, don't watch it like past midnight. But yeah. Yeah, watch it in the daylight.
Definitely. And... Oh, and also, another thing about it was there are currently, like, no laws against it, but I have a feeling there probably will be eventually.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure they're gonna.
Like, if it's, like, as serious, like, the way they're portraying it, being as serious as it is right now, like, definitely at some point there are going to be laws about it. And,
yeah, because it was originally Adobe who created the voice cloning, whatever it was, and they showed it on, like, one of their... like conferences when they show all the new stuff they're releasing, but then they said that they're not releasing it to the public. And so years later, these other two guys made the software on their own and so now, and they give it out free to the public, so like anybody can go online and clone their voice.
Indeed.
So, yeah, that probably is like the most legitimate, scary one out of all of them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So, I don't have a solution. So it's not like a conspiracy though. It's just like, it's more just like a controversial issue. But that doesn't make for a good YouTube title. So,
yeah. All
right, moving on. Okay, well, this one was probably the most serious out of the first of his videos. The whole the Woolsey wildfires that happened. Was that going on in December? I don't remember.
It was sometime around there.
I think it was around December.
Yeah.
All the California wildfires that happened recently. And there were like several, and these were like legitimate conspiracies behind the wildfires, that like they weren't real, and it's like the government's like shooting lasers at houses and stuff instead.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And like, so like the reasoning behind it was that if you look at like the photos, it would be like one house is like burnt down and then the house next door isn't, or like a whole neighborhood is burnt down, but then all the trees are still intact. So, like, how was that a wildfire? You know, why didn't it burn down the trees?
Yeah,
and so people
weird.
Are, like, freaking out, trying to figure out what's going on. And this one is, like, weird to talk about because it's, like, a legitimate tragedy that affected people. And so I feel like...
Yeah.
And I feel like he handled it fairly well in the video, like, being respectful.
Yeah, he kind of made sure to kind of, be respectful of that.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just being like, ooh, spooky.
But one of the things that I found the most interesting was that, like people were trying to figure out what started the fires, and it started at, there's like a government testing lab where they had done like nuclear testing in the 20th century, and then like they never cleaned it up completely, and so there's like still radiation left or something, and people are guessing like that's why the fire started. And then with all the smoke coming in, it was like, I don't know.
All that stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know, that seemed like the most legitimate out of all the wildfire conspiracies, because another one was like electric companies are like blowing up microwaves inside people's homes to start the fires. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because like when they were a lot of the fires, it looked like, or it seemed like, I don't know, I know they study this, I don't know how they figure it out, but it seemed like the fires started inside the home, not outside, like it burned inside out. And so some people think that electric companies are purposely blowing up people's microwaves to start fires. I don't know why they would do that, but that's a thing that people think.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. And then other people think that the government's just shooting lasers.
Also, that's why my family doesn't own a microwave.
Oh, good for you, Gabe. You're smart. You're ahead of the
It wasn't my plan. It wasn't my idea. Like,
your mom's woke. She knows what's up. Okay.
There you go. Although I think it was more of like, anything that heats something up that fast is of the devil. Most likely.
Me. I like your mom. I agree. It's of the devil. Nice. Do you remember... There was another thing about the wildfires that was like a week before the Woolsey one started. There was a different one that broke out a little further north, and some people think that they like started the second one to distract from, and it like that didn't make sense to me at all.
Because how do you distract from something with another one of the same thing?
I think some of his like explanation was that like they started a fire in like where all the celebrities live, and so like to get people's attention off the government shooting lasers at people's houses, let's worry about if Kim Kardashian's home is going to burn up. Mm-hmm. Didn't make sense to me, but that was one of the conspiracies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've seen the first couple seasons of The Office, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this, but another conspiracy Ryan started the fire.
Am I supposed to get that?
It's a joke.
Oh no.
It's like, oh no, you haven't made that far. Okay.
Spoilers, Gabe. So I'm on
Spoilers.
season 4, I think.
I thought it was way earlier than that. Like, that was definitely pretty early on, and then they called back to it a couple times later.
It's been a while. Don't blame me. I'm sorry. I'm a shameful Office fan.
but anyway.
Anyways,
what do we have next?
Next on the list is... Okay, this... I did not like this whole segment of the video.
Is this the one about the cartoons?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me you sound passionate about it. Give me your words. I want to hear.
Okay, well, first explain it for the people.
So the whole idea is that children's TV shows and cartoons are embedded with images of suicide and like just depictions of suicide, and so like we're implanting this in children's brains from childhood that's like an option when things get difficult in life. That was like the very basic idea.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. Oh boy. So this is like the only one that I really didn't enjoy. Not because it was like, oh no, that's right. But it's just, I just don't buy it personally. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, I can't see that being a thing. Because whenever I see kind of, behind the scenes, these writers and voice actors, them doing their job on their shows, they just don't...
I think so. Like the reasoning behind it is that he like extrapolated so far as to say that like we're teaching this to kids because like a happy, peaceful society is one that can't be controlled. So like we have to get them while they're young and like And then I was like, what? Like how do you stretch it that far? And I don't think it's like this huge umbrella of people in the entertainment industry that's like let's
also like
put suicide in cartoons so kids will.
Yeah, also, like, it showed kind of some clips, with, like, scary music over it. It was, like, out of context.
Yeah.
So, because, like, I know I've, like, seen some of those, and I'm like, wait, that's not... Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's...
So it didn't really...
And you can make that point about anything. Like, murder, like, homicide is a common theme in, like, children's cartoons.
Like, murder mystery shows are so big. So...
And a lot of the clips that he was showing were old, like, Looney Tunes, like Bugs Bunny. And that was, like, those cartoons used to be super violent. And not just depicting suicide, but depicting all other sorts of violence. That's just the way it was.
Like, violence in those just don't surprise me. That's kind of the whole point of them.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That thing. And then he made the point of, like, how even, like, nursery rhymes, like, Ring Around the Rosie is, like...
Oh, yeah.
Dark and evil, and like we teach kids how to play like Hangman the game, which is a guy being hung.
Yeah. And in a way, I can kind of agree to an extent. Like those are kind of weird that someone came up with those. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I don't know.
But the same point can be
I don't think kids ever even know what those mean until later on. Because I definitely didn't think about that ever.
And like. I don't know, like...
Although, I gotta say, I feel like he showed a clip, I don't remember. Probably wasn't meant to be humorous, but I just found it funny. How, singing London Bridges Falling Down, and then it shows, like, this dramatic clip. It's kind of funny. I don't know.
His editing is funny sometimes. But the same could be said for, like, any other sort of violence. Cartoons have always been violent, and... And same with, like, sexual content. Like, there's so many innuendos in children's shows.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So, what, I think it's just, it's like adults are making these shows and they are trying to inject some of, like, adult humor into them in any way possible. I think that it just boils down to that.
A lot of people like dark humor, and so they just put that in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's just a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah. So
that one bothered me, because I was just, the whole time I was like, this is really dumb and overdramatic, and, like...
It's like I was okay with the other ones, but this is a stretch, buddy.
Okay, next one. I don't remember a whole lot of detail about this, but this was like a very broad subject, just like about how advertisements are like manipulative, and like he made the whole thing about the watch. How I didn't get that. How like in every commercial or ad that's featuring a watch, the hands are always set to 10:10.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I don't like. What is that? Why? What's that?
Wait,
why is that a big deal?
I can't remember what he said it meant. Like I feel like someone explained that. I don't remember.
But like, I heard people saying that like they do that just because the way that the hands point, it just like is the perfect way to show off the logo, because it's just at like a perfect angle.
And that's probably exactly it.
Yeah,
too.
it's not that
like,
deep.
Honestly, it's not. It's like obviously there's just gonna be a marketing reason for it. It's nothing like really manipulative. It's good. It's good marketing.
And then there was a thing about grocery stores and how grocery stores manipulate you to buy more and to buy based off of like not what you need but what you want in the moment. And like we've been new, okay? Like this has been common knowledge for a long time. Like the way honestly, grocery stores are set up is when you walk in, there's a bakery, and like the smells of the bakery get you, and then the cold things and the frozen things that you actually need are like in the way far back corner, so you have to walk through everything to get to them. Yeah. So
like you can say that's shady, and you know that I can understand that, but also you're running a business. You want people to buy stuff.
It is at its core manipulative, but you're not forcing anybody to do anything, and it is like the basics of like getting people to buy stuff. I mean, it's not that. Yeah,
like when it comes down to it, it is definitely manipulative, but also I don't like what else are you supposed to do? If that makes sense. I don't want to sound like, you know, I am one of these people running these places.
You run a grocery store, Gabe.
Yeah.
Wow. Never knew.
Man.
Dang.
Was there something else about that as well?
The whole other bit was just that sex sells, and like
okay. Actually, that's right. I remember there was that, like, what was it? SFX?
Oh yeah, that
is
magazine?
That the magazine? I thought that was like they need to stop. Like that's like the one thing from it was like, okay, you know, there's these different ways to get people to buy things, but it's like that's I don't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that. So if you don't know, there's
like when they have like certain people on the covers and stuff, like
there's
you know,
a magazine
kid actors.
called
It's like
SFX, but every time,
because
every
like,
single cover, the bottom part of the F is covered, so it looks like it says sex.
Yeah.
And it's so, and they know exactly what they're doing. Like, it's not a mistake.
There's no way that's a mistake. Also, like, he brought that up, like, he brought up the name as if the magazine name was sex. Yeah. And I was like, I totally believe that, because it looks that way. And then he showed that it wasn't. It was like, okay, that's
wouldn't know unless you know. And it is, like, bothersome that, like, he made the point of when they have, like, kids on the cover of the magazine. I guess it's just an entertainment magazine. I'm not exactly sure. But, like, they had the cast of Stranger Things, and, like, it's all these, like, 12-year-old kids, and then it just says sex at the top. And it's, like, I don't like that.
Like, they're only, it's weird, because, like, the only rebuttal they can make is, like, oh, but that's not the name of the magazine. Yeah. Well, no, but also you want people to think that at first glance.
They know full well what they're doing. And we all know they know full well what they're doing. Nobody's being fooled, okay?
Absolutely. There's no way they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, that was annoying.
I say either they've had their run and they can, like, change their name, or they make it more clear what their name is. Just at least they should be more wary when they have, like, kids on the cover.
I say they just change the name of their magazine to sex and just embrace it, because that's clearly what they're trying to do. So might as well just own up to it.
Man, that's
and then don't put kids on your
interesting
cover,
take.
Please.
Interesting take you got there. Like,
yes, I have all the hot takes. They're scolding over here.
Scolding, man.
Yep. Alrighty, the last one in the first video was the stuff about Hollister.
There was, what was it? Like music being loud or something like that?
Again, this wasn't really a conspiracy. And a lot of this, so the whole idea is that the way Hollister, the clothing store, is set up is so if you've never been in a Hollister, they're really, really dark, and there's lots of perfume, so it really smells, and the music is super loud. And so it's supposed to manipulate you into, like, buying more, or, like, which didn't make...
Because then, if it's more quiet, you're going to think about the price more.
Mm-hmm.
But if
and
it's loud,
dark, so, like,
you can't think as much.
I don't know. But, like, he went into all this other stuff that, about the previous CEO of Hollister. He was a jerk. Like, he very publicly said that, like, they don't carry sizes above, like, a large or an extra large. And he said the reason behind that was because he only wanted, like, the cool skinny kids wearing their clothes. Because their brand was, like, for a specific type of teenager. And they didn't want, like, other normal kids sullying their clothes by wearing them. He said a lot of gross stuff over the years. And that's... And recently I don't know if he got fired or if he stepped down. But they've been doing, like, a whole rebranding thing of, like, trying to get people not to hate Hollister anymore.
Yeah.
Which is fair, I guess. They're trying to change. But I remember hearing about that years ago, because my sister had worked at Hollister for a long time. And
does she have some inside secrets?
Well, that was a whole other thing, is that they only hire pretty people. Because they want you to go into the store and see the employees working there who are attractive and good looking, and for you to want to be like them, and you see that they're wearing the Hollister clothes, and so it's just a whole nother level of manipulation.
And then there were, like, all the other people who weren't considered attractive. They just, like, worked in the bag or something like that. Which is like, that's pretty sketch.
Yeah, and, like, 100% I believe that. My sister worked there for a couple of years, and my sister's very pretty. And, like, the job description, which is just, like, working retail up front, is quote-unquote model. Like, that's what they called it. And she did not like working there. Like, she did not like the job. I think she liked her boss, and that was it. But well,
that's good at least.
Yeah. So I totally buy... Because their whole brand was based off of, like, trying to get the most attractive people to wear their clothes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what other changes they've made in the recent years since they got new management, but hopefully they're moving in the right direction. I don't remember. Do you remember if it was large or extra large, like the largest size that they would go to?
I do not remember.
I think it's large.
Might have. Yeah, I was thinking it was a large.
So I don't know, but
I don't know, man.
They went into, like, to a Hollister, and it was like the employees were telling them that they had been making a lot of changes recently, and it, like, wasn't dark anymore, and, like, the music wasn't too loud. It was just like a regular clothing store. So
I was actually at a mall recently. I actually forgot about it, but I should have went. It was like just a little update.
Malls are a dying breed, so.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. Although, like, when I went there, it was surprisingly busy for, gosh, what was it, like a Monday or something, I feel like? Yeah, I don't know.
I guess it's different in Michigan. Y'all love your malls.
No, I went to, I was just in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
So maybe there's specific. No one goes anywhere in Michigan.
Nobody
like, you
goes
go
anywhere.
on Black Friday. You can go on Black Friday. You can be first in line easily. Like, no one's there.
Well, I know where I'm going for my Black Friday shopping. Amazon. Okay, so that was all about Hollister.
I thought you were going to say Michigan. That's good.
Basically that they're, like, discriminatory against their employees and their customers. And I believe it. But hopefully they're making changes for the better, because they have some quality, like, button-up shirts. Like, they're not. I will say that. All right.
Kissing up to the brand.
So that was it for the first video. The second video was, in my opinion, a lot better.
I think, because wasn't the first video kind of, it had more sit-down stuff going on, and it was just talking, and here it was, like, really interactive with, like, kind of everyone doing stuff.
And since it was only 3 stories, it was half the conspiracies. It kind of gave you more time to sit in them. And, like, obviously, like, the one was, like, a lot more serious.
Did you want to, like, touch on that one or skip over? Because I feel like there's not really too much to...
we can skip over it. So, we already talked about the voice fake thing. So the only
Oh
thing
yeah,
left...
we did. I forgot that we were already talking about that.
The
That's
only
right.
thing left is my personal favorite conspiracy
Okay,
out of all
same.
of these. Do you want to explain it?
So, the last one is the Chuck E. Cheese conspiracy theory.
This is a legitimate conspiracy. This is like conspiracy
But this is legit,
defined.
Yeah, it's like, is it not? What is this? I probably believe it though, just like from all the evidence surrounding it. It is insane. And I have quite a few things to say about it actually. But basically, Mel is just kind of like having her fingers.
I did like
together
the
and stuff.
Mr. Burns like finger. Excellent,
Yeah, the Mr. Burns finger
excellent.
thing. Yeah, that's the name for it. But basically, the conspiracy here is that Chuck E. Cheese recycles their pizza and gives it out to new people. Basically, repurposing, and like the best way to explain it is, not everyone finishes their pizzas and they have leftover slices on their plates, and then they would take them back to the kitchen and like put all these leftover pieces together and make a new one and recook it, and just
So, if you don't know how Chuck E. Cheese works, you get your pizza and then your kids go off and play, and they like grab a bite and then go off and play again and come back. And like there's usually like a few slices left or like half a pizza left sometimes or whatever. And so the idea is that they don't want that pizza to go to waste, so they take it back in the kitchen, smush it together with some other old slices, sprinkle some cheese on top, put it back in the oven, and serve it to the next customer.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like one singular pizza.
Google right now, just Google Chuck E. Cheese pizzas, and tell
Yes.
me that doesn't look sketchy as heck, because
Please Google this
It's
right
just
now
like-
if you haven't seen.
because like I heard the idea of it, and I was like, that's kind of funny. But then you see the photo, and there's no other way to explain it. Like,
There's nothing evenly cut. Like, how would you?
So
and
the
then
pizzas
some
are all
pieces
uneven, so,
shorter
like,
than others and longer.
the crust doesn't line up, and like half the pizza is smaller, and then like if there's pepperoni, none of the pepperoni slices match up, and you can see like where this was like 3 slices of one pizza, and this was 1 slice of another pizza, and this was 3 slices of another pizza. It's a hot mess, y'all. That mouse
it's
is
insane. It's
never
crazy.
trust him.
Dude,
I never
whenever
trusted
this
him.
part came up, because as I actually said earlier, one of my kind of problems, because like this part of the series was so good that you didn't want anything to stop, and it cut back and forth to this one to all 3. And whenever this one came up, I just got so excited. It was so great.
Every time I saw
to see
another
them.
photo of a pizza that they showed, I was just like, how has nobody been talking about this? Like,
Yeah, like there's some like stuff online on like what was there? Like there's some kind of Yahoo answers or something like that.
yeah.
I don't know. Like there are actually other people who've been concerned about this, but it was never really like a whole thing where people were definitely talking about it until Shane brought it up, and it was crazy.
So I like all my family members, like my cousins, like we would go to Chuck E. Cheese for birthday parties when I was a kid, and I have a lot of cousins who are my age, and so I went to Chuck E. Cheese a lot as a child, and I distinctly remember loving their pizza. Like, it was so delicious. It was like one of my favorites.
Actually, speaking of that, like I wonder because here's the thing,
long?
I don't remember going when I was younger necessarily, so I don't know how long this has allegedly been going on, if at all.
Allegedly. Don't sue us.
Allegedly. I know, don't sue us. I'm just saying, like, has it always looked this way? Because I
have
don't
no
know.
idea. Like,
Because I never thought
don't
of
have
that.
any
No one
memory
ever.
of what the pizzas looked like.
Yeah. So I have no
yeah,
idea.
you're right. If it's like something that's newer or.
Mm-hmm.
But.
Yeah.
It's funny. So after I watched the video, I went on Chuck E. Cheese's Twitter because I wanted to see the damage control they were trying to do, and it was pretty sad. like
It was
they
sad,
would just
honestly.
post like regular tweets, and all the replies are just like
All the replies.
gifs of
Like,
like
it
a
has-
recycling bin and stuff.
Yeah, like they have 40 likes, 2 retweets, and 3,000 replies.
Exactly. And then
Basically.
like I went to just their replies, and I feel okay. So whoever was like running the Chuck E. Cheese social media before all this happened, they did not sign up for this, but I feel bad for them. But it was
Honestly.
literally like the same reply. They were like, "Sorry, Jan, we don't recycle our pizzas. We make them fresh every day." And it was just like the same reply over and over, just worded
Over and
slightly
over and
different.
over to everyone.
And then later on they posted a picture or a video of like them, like a pizza that they had made, and obviously it looked perfect. And people called them out for that too.
I have no idea. So weird.
But it's funny because in the video, like Shane and Rylan and Andrew went to Chuck E. Cheese and ordered the pizza.
Yeah.
And it came out uneven, half a pizza. And
also, I actually like kind of tweeted this in a funny manner. Basically, it's funny because when the employee, like, he came, served the pizza, and Shane and everyone was like, "Oh, thanks." And then he turned around, and then Shane just had this look of awe.
Because he wasn't like going into this like expecting to like prove it and show people, because he didn't want to believe it to be true.
This is just
yeah. And then he came out, and the pizzas came out, and did not look good.
It looked exactly
I was
like
surprised too. Like, I thought they're gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese, and like since they have a camera, they're not gonna, they'll give them a good looking pizza. But apparently not.
That was interesting.
And like, does that mean that like when you get hired at Chuck E. Cheese to work in the kitchen, they train you to just like recycle these pizzas?
Okay, actually, I want to speak on this because earlier I was kind of researching this topic more. There was this guy who made a video on it. Supposedly, it was probably a fake video, honestly. But basically, he said that, he got a job and apparently you have to sign this this form. I don't remember what the name of it was, but it's like just a form where you can't speak about certain things, and supposedly you have to keep your phone in your car while you're there or something. And
interesting.
It's like a whole bunch of stuff.
And Chuck E. Cheese
and then that, like, why I think it was like maybe this is real, I don't know. But why I think it was like a fake video and most people seem to think the exact same is because he kept in a video of kind of like, a hidden vertical phone video or whatever of like his boss talking to him and firing him and being like, it just seemed way too convenient because rather than just like firing him for just like, oh, you can't have your phone out, he was like also like, we have to repurpose our pizzas all the time. It's like, come on, that's just too convenient, I feel like.
But you would think that, like, Chuck E. Cheese is a big chain. You would have think that some employee at some point, some ex-employee would have been like, hey, you guys, this is what we do in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Or, like,
so
it's just weird to me that Shane it was, like, almost that, like, nowhere online before.
Yeah, I think Shane said one of his friends said it at some point.
Told him, but he wasn't sure.
But also, yeah.
Or just, like, wanted attention, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? It's so weird, though, like how it's only just now being talked about.
I think what we need to do, Gabe, one of us needs to get a job at Chuck E. Cheese and go undercover.
Oh, no.
Who should it be? Both of us? Maybe they do it different state by state. Maybe we both need to go undercover. Do some reconnaissance.
Because I've heard that supposedly, like, they look the same in every state or something. Supposedly, like there was this one food reviewer guy, Daym Drops. He like made a video and got 2 pizzas at the establishment, and they both looked a little sketch. So it was just like the same thing. I don't know.
Also, like, that's just weird. Does it also mean that there's like never a fresh whole pizza? It's always like a little bit of this one, a little bit. It's like a continual.
Wouldn't there have to be a fresh one at some point in time?
I don't know.
Because that only sounds about right. So I don't know. It's really odd, man.
There's like one slice that's still making the rounds. It has not gotten eaten yet, and it's been going around for years, and they keep reheating it.
Oh no.
Like that's nasty.
There's a 7-year-old pizza slice somewhere
fair,
in the mix.
like, if this is what they do, at least they stick it back in the oven and kill whatever little grimy, snotty 7-year-old child's germs that were touching it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about it where I'm like,
it's not it's disgusting and it's wrong, but like it's not dangerous if that's what's happening.
Also, like the thing about the guy in the video who faked the manager thing, like he also said like, oh, there are so many like snotty kids and stuff. People can die from this, and it's like, I don't know about that. Yeah. You're being a little over dramatic there.
Yeah.
Like I feel like something would have gotten out if someone had died from this. Like,
So if you go to Chuck E. Cheese and you wonder why you come home with a cold, it's not because you were touching all the games the little kids were touching. It's because you ate a pizza that some child sneezed on and then put back on their plate. That's what we learned here. So
Interesting, man. It's oddly, this shouldn't be so intriguing, but it just is.
It's so great because it just seems like once you find out about it, it's like, of course that's what they're doing. It's so obvious. Why?
Yeah, like I believe it. Honestly,
100%, I believe.
I believe, but I also believe that it is a conspiracy. Of course, you know, it's a conspiracy. This isn't a fact. But yeah.
Yeah, that one was definitely my favorite.
Yeah. Oh man.
And he did the whole like Photoshop of like trying to line up the slices.
Line up. See
they
if
did
it
not
makes
line
anything.
up at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
There's
Like,
no
like
other explanation. They're definitely
the only thing I
doing
can
that.
think of, but like, is there anyone in the world who like cooks pizza? I don't know what that is. Is there anyone in the world who cooks pizza like as individual slices? Is that even a thing?
No, because that's insane.
Okay.
A sociopath.
Because I was gonna say, because like I know like some people.
Oh my gosh!
You know, some
did you
places
see
are like
that?
by
This
the
is
slice.
totally random, but did you see that video of Mitt Romney blowing out his birthday cake candles?
No, I don't think so.
Saw this on Twitter. Somebody made him a Twinkie birthday cake, and so like all the Twinkies are standing up, and there's a candle in each of the Twinkies, and so he's like, they bring it in, and they're singing, and he's like laughing because he's like, oh, he didn't know, and it's like, haha, and then he goes over to the cake, reaches down, picks up a candle, blows it out. Next one by one, blows each candle out individually. Who does that?
What?
You have to go watch it.
Real?
I'll
Please
send it to you.
me.
I will.
I'll also put it in the show notes.
It's the most ridiculous. It's like, first of all, I guess it's like more sanitary because he's blowing on the candles, not on the cake. But like,
well, yeah.
I don't know if that's his reason. It just feels like only a crazy person would do that. It's so disturbing to watch. But I will send it to you.
Like, that's really odd.
Sorry, that was random, but it made me think.
That's fine.
The type of people who blow out their candles one by one are the type of people who cook their pizza slice by slice. So
yeah,
that's.
But yeah, I was gonna say because just because of the by the slice kind of places. But I guess it would have to actually be from a full one, and then they just cut it up and then do that.
Yeah. You don't
so
because then you'd have to make a triangle piece of dough. Yeah.
Do they sell like individual slices at Chuck E. Cheese? Like, is that kind of like a main thing they do? Because I was thinking like, okay.
Because when you go to Chuck E. Cheese, no, you can't order a slice. And there's like fairly small pizzas.
Okay. Because otherwise I would have said that maybe...
Yeah, that would make
maybe by the
more
slice
sense.
is their thing. And then, they already have them cut up and then they have to put them together.
No.
But I guess not.
Because people go there just for funsies, but like their main thing is like birthday parties and stuff. So you go for like with like a big group of people and you order like 5 pizzas and whatever. So.
Yeah. Like, man, it's so weird. Like, go to any pizza place. Nothing looks like that. No place other than that.
No. It's you can't look at that and there's like no other explanation for it.
Hate to say it,
sorry,
but
Mr. Chuck E. Cheese, but you've been caught. So
sorry, Mr. Cheese. There was a commercial, I think, actually, where like it was really old, where it showed like the E in Chuck E. Cheese stands for entertainment, and it's like his name is Chuck Entertainment Cheese. What?
That's weird.
Oh,
I don't
man.
want to think about that. Okay, I guess like the other stuff with Chuck E. Cheese was that like it promotes gambling and it's essentially just gambling for which is like we also been new. Like that's like I'm like I don't want to sound like I don't know if insensitive would be the word, but it's like who cares? Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just like kind of.
I mean, like any parent who takes their child there, like they're not dumb. Like they know that it's essentially gambling for children. But you can argue whether that's like good for them or not. But like that's not a conspiracy. That's pretty.
I mean, I went a decent amount as a kid, and I don't have a gambling problem. I don't have a.
Well, I went a decent amount as a kid, and I have a serious gambling problem, Gabe. So.
Okay.
Anyway, that's a joke. I don't gamble.
I know. But still, otherwise we would need like some kind of story time confession video from you soon.
That'll come later. It'll be a Patreon exclusive.
Patreon exclusive.
Learn about Melanie's gambling problem.
Titled Yeah, titled Chuck E. Cheese gave me a gambling problem, and now I'm in the hole $80,000.
Anyways. Wow, that's it. We went through my list. My list is...
There you go, man.
I can burn it now. Don't need it anymore.
Burn it.
Yeah.
No, give it away to someone on Patreon. There you go.
Okay, yeah. Just, I'll sign it, of course.
Of course.
Of course. So, this is...
All right, well,
this was,
yes.
I'm sad we didn't argue more. What's something we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
argue
It
about?
felt like we kind of just like, oh, here's this conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Let's
about
talk
right.
about it.
Next one. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, when we were deciding what to talk about, we had like a lot of similar opinions when it comes to like movies and music.
Yeah. All sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah. So, if you were looking for a fight.
A fight.
not
Yeah, then
arguing,
you can probably
you can.
check out my previous 2 episodes. I think there were a couple things. A few things. But yeah.
Those were solid episodes. The Gabe trifecta. It was a beautiful thing to listen to.
Indeed. Thank you very much. I'm so happy that actually turned out good and not boring.
But yeah, it was entertaining. I listened to it with Steven, and we were laughing. So
That's great. Good to hear.
it's funny though, because we would be sitting there listening to it, and I'd be like, "Oh, and Gabe said this," and Steven would look at me like, because I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I call you all Gabe.
Which one?
Yeah, I don't have any sort of distinction between your names. So
I just use like last names.
that's smart.
and
I
then,
should
like,
do that. I don't
That's the main thing.
burn them. I'm just start calling
And then
you that from now
anyone
on.
else, usually people who just want to just think me, just say Bagel Gabe. That's it.
Maybe I'll find 2 other Melanies someday, and I can have a beautiful Melanie trio. That's my goal.
Gonna have your own podcast.
Exactly. It'll be called... I can't think of anything clever. But it's coming out 2025. I need to find some Melanies first. Melanie Martinez. Maybe I can get her on board. She's not... Is she canceled still? I don't remember.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. I just remember that being a thing, and then it was like, I don't know what happened with that. Because I saw like, I don't know if you watched like the Pop Song Professor on YouTube. Well, he's like a Play Me Cow patron, so I watch his channel, and he's got a decent following, and so he like explains song lyrics, and some people like to recommend in the comments. And just today, actually, I think I saw one that said, "Oh, explain Melanie Martinez." It's like, oh wait, do we like her now? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know. I still believe that, like, supposedly, I don't know, maybe I should, like, talk about this, like, off recording. But anyway, so this was a fun episode.
Yes, it was a good old time. I had the time of my life. My microphone didn't die, because the last time I recorded with Gabe, that's what happened, so...
And no one ever listened to that episode.
Okay, so...
It's nowhere to be found.
For context.
Yes.
Grace and Gabe and I, last year, we decided to do an episode of my old political podcast about Trump. And we had a nice conversation. Gabe was generally more pro-Trump, and Grace and I were generally more, I don't want to say anti, but like not a fan of him. But it was a good conversation.
In the middle would be a good way to put that.
Yeah. We were more moderate. And then at the end of the conversation, I realized my microphone had died about halfway and all my audio was lost. So that episode never saw the light of day. Maybe that was a good thing. Maybe it was like a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing.
It was a blessing.
It saved angry tweets.
Maybe it's just a good thing there's no opinions of mine about Trump out there in the world. For future employers, who knows?
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's my...
If you ever move to LA,
oh yeah,
that's not there now.
Yeah, I gotta. So.
Yes.
That didn't happen this time, and I'm happy.
So yeah, that was
proud of myself that the recording.
Yeah, I thought we were actually going to redo that, but then it's like nope.
Yeah.
So
just like,
my that was my podcast pastoral. I don't know podcast debut.
It was your debut.
And never. Yeah, and now no one will ever hear that. So I was waiting to actually make my public debut, and then nothing ever happened, and so I just made my own podcast.
You got so fed up with it.
Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna record.
I mean, you guys, your audio was. We could have just put out your and Grace's audio, it would have been like a third of the conversation was gone. But
you'd have to like really figure out like I feel like you were pretty decently involved.
Yeah.
So that'd be weird. You'd have to like cut out like the podcast would be 5 minutes, just like Grace and I speaking directly to each other.
Good times. Good times.
Good
I'm a
times
grandma
indeed.
when it comes to technology, so that's my excuse.
For sure.
Sure. Thanks.
Indeed.
Well, this has been fun.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have a place where people can check out your content and stuff?
My content is just
Yes.
Melanie Ann with an E Ahern. That's my name. Not Ann with an E, just an Ann with an E at the end. Don't actually type out Ann with an E.
Yeah.
That's a TV show.
That was your like Twitter name at one point.
Yeah, that was. That was clever.
That was good.
Yep.
And on Twitter, you can find her just at Melanie, but replace the M with two N's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. One day I'll get Melanie the handle. You watch and see.
Oh my gosh.
But for now, I'm a peasant.
Imagine that.
Oh my gosh,
That'd
that would be amazing.
Actually.
One day it'll happen. I'll buy it.
Because like I know like sometimes people just go to certain Twitter handles just to see like who has them, and that'd just be kind of amazing. Just like the traffic you would get.
I would be the
towards
Melanie
your page.
on Twitter.
Yes.
Maybe I can pay
Indeed.
somebody. I don't know who has the handle.
Maybe just bribe someone.
Yeah. Where can they find you, Gabe?
Oh yes. You can find me at Weird Name Prod, basically the podcast name, except put an R in front of the O. There you go. That's where that name actually came from. It's pretty great.
For productions, but shortened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. So yes, and with that, I suppose that'll be all for this wonderful little episode. And I don't know how to close things. Last time I had I believe a question for everyone, but now I don't know
what
if
if I have a
there's
question
anything.
for you?
Oh, I mean, sure.
I
if you
don't,
want.
but I can think of one.
Okay.
What, what's a fun fact about yourself?
It's a fun fact.
Yeah.
Well, I have a podcast.
Dang, that's crazy.
I know,
Sounds
right?
like
Who
a
would have
great
thought?
time. I would love to listen to that.
Boy, have I got a news for you.
Okay.
And do you have a fun fact about yourself?
Oh gosh, no. I was on live TV once.
What?
Yeah. 2017, I went to it was 2018. It was last year. I went to the March for
Really?
Life last year in Washington,
that's
D.C.
right.
And my local news channel, they came up and we were marching up a hill and they interviewed me for a minute and it made it on the TV.
Is that available on YouTube?
I might be able to find it. I found it once, but it was some random person who had recorded it, so maybe I can find it again. And it's literally 5 seconds. It's not even.
Yeah, well, still, that's something. Literally, your 5 seconds of fame.
Oh, you're right. But it was we were walking up this steep hill, and I was out of breath, so it was not a great moment for me. But I'll find it if I can. I'll send it to you if I can find it.
Yeah, I know you made it on the March for Life's Instagram story though.
That too, yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah,
Good time.
Indeed.
All right, I'll see you next time. Just kidding, because I won't be here next time. But Gabe will be here next time, so he will see you next time.
And I'll bring someone else most likely. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below.
Suggestion.
Or tweet me. Questions and who you might want me to have on the podcast next. And what you might want us to talk about. Because obviously people just were like, hey, have Melanie on. And then I was like,
okay.
I don't know what to talk about. So, yes, leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or just tweet me or whatever. Yeah. Fare thee well.
Bye.
Say fairs.